Hey there, Prairie Plant Girl here. Today I thought I would just take a few minutes to share with you about a great place for a resource for people who are interested in growing native prairie plants. I have been wanting to go to the Living Prairie Museum in Winnipeg, Manitoba for several years. And this past summer it worked out for my husband and I to stop in there on a little holiday we were taking. So the Living Prairie Museum is located at 2795 Ness Avenue in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And they have a large prairie grassland area, or reserve, I guess maybe it's called. It's been set up so that you can walk through a trail in there. There's different spots where you can stop. They're marked places, and they'll have a little bit of information about what's growing there or happening in that area. It's a short little hike on flat terrain, so a pretty easy hike. I don't know if it's accessible, if it would be accessible enough for someone in like a wheelchair or a motor scooter, but even I had an injury on my one foot and I was limping around. I wasn't able to wear good shoes, and I was able to do this little walk or hike through there. They do have, it's a self-guided tour, so they have, it's online, or we just printed it off just to make it easier. And there's little metal numbers along the trail, and the numbers will correspond with little sections in your tour guide. So you can just go through and learn some of the things about the different areas on this hike. They also have, I guess, an interpretive center or building that you can go in, and it has some great displays and information set up in there. And you can learn about the native birds and wildlife that roamed the native prairie lands. You can learn about dark sky preserves and why it's important to have some spaces that aren't lit at night. There is a little, you can go upstairs and there's a little observation deck that you can look out on and see the entire space out around you. But my biggest thing about it is I wanted to be out in their gardens and on their hike. And there's lots of native plants that you read about, you hear about. You might see photos of them online, but it's hard sometimes to get a really good idea of what those plants and flowers really look like as a whole plant. A lot of times when you're seeing photos online, you'll see just like a close-up of the leaf or the flower or something, you know, and it might tell you the dimensions, the sizes that the plant gets at maturity. But for me personally, I really need to visualize and see those things in person a lot of times to really understand them. So they have, like I said, the great little hike walk kind of area that you can go through, see things growing in a very native, naturalized way. But they also have gardens, just a few little garden spaces with these plants growing. They're very well labeled, so you know what you're looking at, and you can really get an idea for how they grow in the wild and how those same plants will look in a more curated way, you know, like a home gardener often wants. So whether you're trying to renaturalize a part of the prairie on a larger piece of land, or whether you're trying to bring some of those native plants into your own small garden in your yard, it's available to you to see how they perform and how they look. And I think that's a great thing. They also have resources inside their interpretive center. There are staff there, so you can ask questions and learn more if you would like from them. And you can also purchase some of their resources. They also have a few free things. So this is just a small pamphlet, and this pamphlet tells you about scarification, starting seeds, sources for native seeds, information about if you're storing them or sowing them, like starting them inside, or you're direct sowing them outdoors. It gives you a listing of a few places in Manitoba where you can purchase native plants and seeds. So just quickly, so if you're in the Manitoba area, you could look at the Living Prairie Museum. They sell seeds. I have a few. We're going to sow them today. Prairie Flora They just sell the plants. They're in Toulon, Manitoba. And then Prairie Originals, which I've already done a video on. I visited them as well, and I picked up a lot of native plants there this summer. And they are in Selkirk, Manitoba, which is just a really short drive north, I can't remember, northeast, I think, of Winnipeg. So they're almost in Winnipeg. So those are some seed sources or plant sources for native plants in Manitoba. I'm in Saskatchewan, Canada, but a lot of these plants overlap between Manitoba and Saskatchewan and actually into Alberta. There are some that are native to each area that aren't native to the rest. It's still a good resource, I think, if you're going to your neighboring province and you have similar weather and growing conditions and things to look at their plants. I picked up this little pamphlet because it has really good information about the different scarification methods and growing methods for getting native seeds started, because I have found in the past sometimes starting native seeds can be difficult. So I would just say that going to the Living Prairie Museum, if you're nearby, is worth the time. I think we were only there for probably about an hour altogether. So it's not a long visit. It's not a huge commitment that you're making. And I don't think it's something that for most people is going to be the main reason they're going into Winnipeg. But it is worth the stop if you have some time during the growing season. And anytime I've looked into it, it doesn't appear that they're open during the off season, or just the building is maybe, I can't remember now. But I would recommend just looking it up online and just double checking their hours. But if you're going to want to do the little hike and see the gardens like I was, then I really think that you want to go probably between like June and September, because that's when most of those plants, you're going to see some of those native plants anyways growing. Of course, different native plants will be in their full display at different times of the year. And it's certainly somewhere like we were there kind of later summer. I would prefer to go next time, you know, in like June and see how the spring gardens look compared to like the end of the summer looked. So that's just something to think about too when you're going through, is that the whole landscape will change, as it does in so many places as the different native plants come into their own at the different times of year. Now, like I said, I picked up seeds while I was there. They do sell seeds, they sell posters, they sell books. They have a lot of things at reasonable prices there that will help you on your native plant journey. And these seeds are some that I picked up. So I picked up Prairie Drop Seed and Heartleaf Alexander. Now, I'm pretty sure Heartleaf Alexander is one of the plants that I wound up finding when I went to Prairie Originals as plants. But I'd still like to try and get a few going on my own. And then the Prairie Drop Seed, I want to start a few as well. So what I'm going to try to do, it's November right now in Saskatchewan, Canada. Normally we would be covered in snow. We've already had snow last month. It's melted. We've had a beautiful November, but the weather is cooling off and we are in our prairie winter right now. So I'm going to take this, try and take advantage of our prairie winter, and I'm going to plant a few of these seeds. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to put them out in my yard, and sometimes I find I wind up with birds or mice or who knows what eating the seeds. So I'm going to try and do some winter sowing of them in my greenhouse here. So I've just grabbed a couple of seed trays. Now just grab a 4-cell pack for each of them, just to see how this goes. I start a lot of seeds in the spring, so I don't want to be using up all of my seed trays on this, but I wanted to get a couple of trays started, and I'm going to leave them out here in my greenhouse. It still freezes in here. This is an unheated greenhouse, and they should be fine. If we continue to get a lot of weather like this where it's getting quite warm, it's 15 degrees here in the greenhouse right now. So if we continue to have a lot of time like that throughout the winter, then these will have to go outside and I'll just have to protect them from other creatures and animals. So another option that you could do if you're doing winter sowing is to take a jug like this. Now this one is full of water right now, but you could take a jug like this that the light can shine through. It could be a clear, large, like 1 liter juice jug, or it could be like a lot of people use these milk jugs, and you just cut it open, you know, kind of a third of the way down or so, and you leave part of it attached, so you can just flip the cut part back, fill the bottom with soil, you put your seeds in, you plant them like you would normally, and then you flip the part that you cut back down and just tape it shut. Label it real well. It's good to put a label on the inside. Usually they're more protected, and sometimes the labels on the outside will wear off, and by spring you're not sure what you're growing. And then you leave the cap part off. Oh, and you need to put a few drainage holes at the bottom if you do this. And then any snow or rain that comes when these are sitting outside will go through the top, drain out the bottom, but help to give that moist, cold environment that some seeds like to get germinated. So this is a method that a lot of people will use to winter sow and germinate their seeds. I do have a video on that if you're interested in learning more about it. But I'm just going to do them in these little trays here and have them in my greenhouse, like I said, unless it gets to the, like, just a really exceptional winter and I need to put them outside maybe so they're getting more cold time. But I think this will be fine. I brought out a couple of tags, and I'm trying out this waterproof garden marker. So I've never used this before. I just want to label my labels here, and then I'm just going to fill my trays, plant my seeds, and make sure they're watered in real well, and I'll just leave them sitting in here with their labels in them, and we'll see what happens with them come spring. See how they do. The pamphlet that I picked up at the Living Prairie Museum said that native seeds like well-packed soil. And this was advice for if you're trying to plant, direct sow your seeds in your outdoor space. But I thought that was interesting because I have had trouble getting my native seeds to germinate in the past. So there. So I've really packed this soil down. I'm actually going to go a little bit deeper on a couple of cells here, because we're going to pretty much just surface sow. It says to just put the seeds on and lightly rake them in. Here's the prairie drop seed. This is a beautiful plant, and I actually had some growing in my yard, I'm pretty sure a few years ago, but I did not realize what it was and that it was a native plant. And I was concerned that it had come in. It was just such a pretty plant that I guess assumed it couldn't be native to my area. I don't know. And so I worked hard to eradicate it because it just showed up one summer, and then I just thought, oh, it had come off of somebody's ornamental garden plants or something. But then as I was doing more research about the grasses and things that are native to the prairies, I realized that was actually a native plant. So I've just kind of tamped them in, and I'm just taking some of the soil that missed the container and just kind of sprinkling it on top, but I'm not really burying them. These little packs that I picked up at the Living Prairie Museum don't actually give me planting instructions right on them, and the little pamphlet doesn't have individualized instructions for each variety of plant. I'm just going by what I think I need to do. So here's the Heartleaf Alexander. It's a beautiful plant. It's a great pollinator plant. I don't know if you can see those flat top flowers that it gets. So they are just amazing for like butterflies especially. Love these. So I don't know if you can see down into the pack. They give you quite a bit of seed. There's even more in the other pack. And these were, I mean, it was months ago that I purchased them, but I remember they were quite inexpensive. So, you know, a lot of seeds can be quite costly, especially these days. And I thought their pricing was quite reasonable. So, and if we weren't going to Prairie Originals right after, like in the next couple of days, I probably would have picked up even more seeds. But a lot of the plants that I wanted appeared to be available through Prairie Originals as started plants, and I really wanted to pick them up that way. So there's the Heartleaf Alexander. Again, I just kind of patted them in real well. And I'll just pick up some of this spilt soil and just kind of pat it on. And there's both trays planted. So now I'm just going to take these two little seed trays. Doesn't seem like much, hey, when you think of all the seed sowing that I'm going to be doing in really just a few months. But I'm going to take these two seed trays. They're quite chilly. The soil was sitting out here already, so it's kind of like I planted them right on the ground in autumn. I'm going to go over here, and I think you can see that. There's a little, it's a wicking mat seed tray. And this is where they're going to sit for now. I brought out some water that I'm going to put on the mat. I wasn't sure if the water that's out here would be frozen or not, so I thought I'd just bring some with me. So I'll make sure they have enough that they can soak the water up and get nice and damp in there. And then I'm just going to, like I said, try and just leave them through the winter so they can experience the cold, and they can experience some of the fluctuations in the spring when it starts to warm up and they're thawing out a little bit. And that should put them through that natural cycle that they need for the seeds in their dormancy to break that dormancy in the spring, hopefully, and I can get some plants growing that way, just in a natural way. There are other stratification methods used to break dormancy. Different types of seeds need different types of stratification to grow. Some need no stratification at all. And you can look it up online. Like I said, this little book has great little information in it, so I picked up there. Prairie Moon, I think, also has really good information on their website about stratification. And I've also done a video on some stratification methods and how you're supposed to do them to help get you going. If you want to start your seeds later in the year, you know, like closer to spring, inside, then you can just speed up this process by using your freezer or refrigerator, or sometimes even a heating mat, to just kind of mimic the natural stratification cycles that plants go through when the seeds fall off the plant outdoors. So this is just to try and give the most ideal conditions to get the seeds to break dormancy. And the fresher the seed is that you have, the easier it will be to get it to break that dormancy. The longer seeds sit in a dormant state, the more difficult it can be to break their dormancy. I hope you found it interesting to learn a little bit about the Living Prairie Museum. This isn't sponsored by them or anything. It's somewhere I had really wanted to go for quite a while, and I was finally able to go, and it did not disappoint me at all. So I think if you're a native plant enthusiast and you're in the area, that will be somewhere that you would probably really enjoy as well. And I don't know, as a gardener, I always think a little bit of seed sowing is fun. And so even though it's November and we are going into full-on winter here in Saskatchewan, Canada, it's just, look at the smile on my face. It's just fun to get some seeds started. So if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. It really helps out my channel a lot. It tells the YouTube algorithms that my videos are worth watching and that more people should watch them, and it has them sent and shown to more people. Also, subscribing does that for me, and you know, getting the views. So thanks for watching, because you just watching this video helps me and my channel to grow. There's always lots to watch, so keep coming back to my channel and I will keep putting out videos for you all year long, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.